Yay. Hi, everyone. I'm Ginny Robertson, the founder of the On Purpose Woman magazine. And I'm also founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community. I usually say that in the opposite way. And I'm here with Sofia Nitchie, who is a writer and writing coach. And we're doing something new. I had this idea a few weeks ago to start to interview some of our contributing writers for On Purpose Woman magazine. We've got an amazing group of women who step up and write for this magazine. And I wanted to just come on Facebook Live and show them off to all of you. And Sofia is the first one to step up. And today we're going to chat about her article in the March-April issue called "Is Writing in the Third Person Dead?" So Sofia, you're a writer and a writing coach, and you've actually contributed a number of articles to the magazine. So those of you who are watching, go read her article this month and check out the archives for other articles by Sofia, as well as our other amazing writers. I love this article, as I was telling you before we got on, "Is writing in the third person dead?" But before we go down any other rabbit holes on this, tell everybody what you mean by third person, because that could be a little maybe confusing to some people, right?
Right. Okay. So when you're writing, and you need to kind of set up your sentence, you're going to decide what voice you want to use. So third person is a narrative voice or a way of telling your story, way of talking in your sentence, where third person would be he, they, she, we're talking about them over there. And so there's like a third party to this conversation. They're not me, first person, or you, second person. They're third party. They're they, he, or she.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's clear.
Yeah.
And then first person is
me. So whoever is writing the story, you're talking about yourself.
Yeah. And why is that important? Let's just basically, why is that important? We'll dig a little bit deeper in a minute.
It's really kind of a context for whatever you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So like a setup, just like when you want to tell a joke or a story, it's the setup is really important. And so if I'm talking to you about, I went to my kitchen and I put together a lovely banana bread and it was delicious, then I'm setting it up by telling you, I'm learning this myself. I'm sharing about my personal experience. These are my thoughts and feelings as an individual person. And I'm excited about this, or I could just go into, here's a recipe for banana bread. Mm-hmm. And the setup really contextualizes it in people's minds. And I really believe that as human beings, we love to connect with people. And apologies if you hear repair on my washing machines going on. But we love having connections with real people. And so when you start talking in the first person and sharing about your personal experience, you're inviting the reader to connect to you as a human being. And for a lot of people, they love that. It's like having a little coffee chat or going, and it's more casual, it's more personal, and it's a little bit less hard on our brain because we're like, we can immediately understand the context of, oh, she's telling her personal story about banana bread. Like, I understand what's happening here. I don't need to read through the lines to be like, where did they get this recipe? Or who says, how does she know this? We understand where it's coming from.
Those are all really great examples. And what came to mind for me is that as soon as you started saying, I have this great recipe for banana bread and I went into my kitchen and I felt myself leaning in a little bit. Ooh, but if you just said I have a recipe for banana bread, I'd have to, do I want it or not, right? Am I interested in banana bread? But you had me interested in banana bread before I had an opportunity for my brain to start thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of tricky that way.
Yeah, it's like very instinctual, I think. Our desire to connect and to be excited because someone else is excited. And it's just easier for our brain. Because the second example of, oh, I have a recipe for banana bread, then your mind is kind of worrying to find the context of, but I didn't really, was I looking for that? Do I have time?
Yeah.
Not sure I'm interested in that. Maybe I'll just kind of skip past. Or maybe after a few seconds of cogitating, you're like, okay, all right, I'll banana bread. But we want to try to appeal to people's brains and their instincts and make it easy for them. And if people like to hear stories from people and that doesn't use as much of your brain power to understand and to get interested in, if it's easy for people to get excited and interested in that, then let's just go with that kind of story, because it's just going to save everybody time and energy, and you're going to have more people excited to read and share and stay tuned. You know, it's the whole idea of like, people love entertainment, but not everybody likes the news. Pretty much everyone loves to be entertained, but not everybody wants just pure information.
Yeah. Well, why did you write this article? I mean, were you seeing evidence out there that more people were writing in first person, or were you finding yourself getting more bored with third person, or what drove you to write this, or to even think about writing it, I guess?
Well, you know, at first I'm publishing online for about 20 years now, which is crazy because I started like in middle school. And I really felt like it was just a personal preference of mine that I enjoyed writing in first person, but I kind of felt like it was more professional maybe to write in third person. So I could kind of switch. But then I decided to start writing for Medium, which is like a website online where anybody can publish articles there. And there's about 60 million monthly readers who can read them. So it's really nice to kind of see this huge pool of data of what kind of things people like. And if they like one story I write versus another, I can kind of notice the patterns. So I was noticing what was more successful there. And I also was noticing as a reader what kind of stories I liked. And I really noticed a lot of people saying, giving advice to other people on the site, hey, we like stories about your experiences, write in first person. And as I was seeing people advise this, I kind of thought, okay, well, that's some people's opinion. I kind of agree, but is this really fact? I don't know. But as I started to see because people can share give you little claps if they like it and things like that. So you can kind of get some information about what they like. And it's like, oh, the things that are just, if the title has the word I in it, they do so much better. Or if it's like, wow, I'm clearly talking about my experience as a human, that's so much more successful than if I try to write it in third person and make it like it's a fact. And I also noticed as a reader, when I read it, I was very, very quickly bored with things that didn't have a person in them. Like it's just all third person, just somebody giving me the facts or some opinion, because I was like, who is this person? I don't know who this person is. Do they know what they're talking about? Are they just copying, pasting something off the internet? And so that really, and then also all this discussion lately about writing AI has been very, very big topic for writers. And it's basically technology that's allowing people to kind of spit out a whole article or a whole piece of writing by just saying to a computer, hey, I want an article about this topic. And it will scan the whole internet and take all of the kind of common data about that subject and just write a quick article about it. And some people are using that to put on their website or to write an article and publish it. And so when you don't have evidence that someone is a human being and they're telling their life story or they're telling all of that, well, for me, when I read it, I'm thinking, is this somebody who used that AI technology? Because I see that they've posted 20 times today. Did they really sit down and write all that? Or did they just ask a computer to make that really quick? And unless I see someone telling me a story about they woke up and they made banana bread and it's their personal experience, I don't have that evidence for sure. And I have that little hinge of doubt in my mind. And especially if they're saying they're an expert on health or they're an expert in this or that, I don't know if I'm fully buying it yet without the evidence that they know what they're talking about. And so that's why it's so much more powerful I think, to speak from first person, because then, like, oh, this is the story of how I'm learning about making banana bread. And so I don't need to reference a book or an article or a credential. I've got the evidence right there. It's like, oh, okay, banana bread. Okay, personal experience. So that's what really jogged it for me is putting all the dots together, that maybe it's not my personal preference. Maybe this really is a trend that I think will continue to get bigger in the future. As I say, more and more people are going to start to notice, wow, a lot of these websites really sound the same. It's almost like the same computer is writing all of there's no personality in here, or there's a lot of people, scams have become such a big thing in this modern age. Like, aren't we all getting these emails like that are scammy? And I think that it's creating a lot of skepticism for me when I read things on the internet from someone who's a supposed expert. But the cool thing about your life experience is no one can really question you.
Mhm.
You know, you
Yeah.
learned and you can share how, and that to me is like, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. They're telling me about, they went in the kitchen, they whipped this up. This has been made before by a human and they like the taste, and at least one person likes this recipe. So that sounds like a way better thing than just, I don't know, just something that doesn't have any context.
And at least for now, I'm thinking that AI technology doesn't write in first person because they're
Well,
going out there, or are they?
and it actually can. You actually can tell the AI technology specifically to write in third and whatever person you want.
Okay.
The thing is that their story, if you include a life story or something like that, the color of it is going to be unique to you, and that's the kind of thing that's going to be harder for a computer to do and have it ring true.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know when you said that, you touched on this a little bit. You said when you started paying attention, you noticed that more people seem to be opening up and maybe clapping or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you have any other kind of anecdotal evidence of this, or have you heard other people or some of your writing clients, are they starting to do more of that?
Yes, yes. I have a lot of clients who are really starting to explore more of the first person, and especially if they come from an academic background, it can be hard
Mm-hmm.
to get out of it. But I think people a lot of times just kind of instinctually know, from and that's what I invite everybody watching this to do is like pay attention to yourself when you're looking at things and when you're reading things, and notice what you like, because that's, for me, I think the biggest kind of evidence, because you can't make everyone happy, but if you're writing the kind of things that you like to read, you're probably going to feel more satisfied with the end result. And then you're not looking to some external authority to tell you if you wrote well or not. But a lot of the people who come to me kind of instinctually are like, yeah, I know that this is going to make my writing more powerful, but it's a little bit hard for me because I'm scared maybe of criticism, or, I think as a woman, I was always conditioned to sort of lead with serving others.
Mm.
And so then that kind of makes me want to take one step back and back up what I say with evidence from someone else or something like that. And so to really put yourself out there in the forefront and say, okay, this is my learned life experience, and here's a little bit of the story of how I got there, and this is why I recommend it for you, then that's really putting all the spotlight on myself. And I think that's probably the thing that so many people like just sort of instinctually feel like, yes, I want to write in first person, but I have all these other things to work through. And then they're really, really, really satisfied when they come through the other side and they're able to do it and even share it with some close friends, because like it also has the benefit of connecting you with people in a deeper way that third person is not going to do. You're not going to feel the like, I'm seen, I'm loved, and I'm appreciated. My words are like resonating. My life story is resonating with someone. It's going to be harder to get that with third person. So that's another part of it too, is just the warm, fuzzy effect.
Yeah, and I think sometimes third person can sound kind of preachy, like
And
I'm
yeah,
talking to you, but I haven't had that issue, right? I'm
yes,
telling you how you can fix it, but I'm done. Or I get, and I
yeah,
feel that I felt that way when I would write in third person sometimes, and it felt like I was telling somebody else something that I hadn't experienced, you
right.
know, and they might feel like they were being shouted at or talked down to or something. And so, and then you can get confused with when you start using I and we, when you start using we or you, all that can get, because if you don't stick with the right one, it can be
Mhm.
confusing again. So I think this is a really simple way, especially if we're women we're heart-centered women, we're women who want to be seen, warts and all, right? We're women who want to use our experiences and our gifts to help transform the world. And so we don't do that by being perfect. We
Yeah,
do that by just putting our stuff out there in first person and owning it. So I love that.
yeah, and I love it. I love that sentiment, and I also love, as part of the On Purpose Women community, that you're always encouraging women to like take up space and practice being themselves in a bigger way.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I feel like writing first person and challenging ourselves to try to find ways to do that, um, it really helps to expand and to take up a little bit more space. And you might think like, oh, well, no one really cares about my banana bread story, but no, they probably do. It's the little things that we dismiss, is like, no one was really going to care about me decluttering my closet or what I've figured out about my gas mileage or my budget or something like that. And actually, a lot of people might totally find that relevant. And, but because we didn't read in a book, then it's not something article worthy. So
Yeah.
when you decide that you're allowed to write in first person and you're going to try to find new ways to do that, you might end up talking about different things. And they might actually be things that are like very everyday or ordinary or things that we dismiss, but so relevant to so many people.
Oh, I love that. And we can also make up stories about how everybody else knows that already,
Yeah.
and chances are they don't know it the way you know it, especially, and so you can always
Yeah.
I can always bring a different experience to the party, if you will, when I talk about it from
Yeah.
years ago when I worked for the seminar company. I went through all their training and everything, and I was a facilitator of their processes. They were really big on stopping people when they would, like, I'll say I was really big because I learned from them when somebody would start saying something about their life, and that, when you take a walk and you really look around, and we would say stop and say who, because even speaking in first person has a much different feel. It's like we are owning the words, because I can talk about you, or I can be saying you, but I mean me, but I'm not either strong enough in it, or I'm afraid to say, or it's conditioning. Often we've just been taught to do it that way. You know how when you can't sleep at night and you get up, so like sometimes I can't sleep at night and this is what happens. It's a whole different feeling. It's an ownership thing. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Different energy. I definitely, yeah. And I hadn't even thought about that. But as I'm talking to you and we're playing the pronoun game, I'm noticing it more and I'm thinking, yeah, that's something that I need to practice so that it's like habitual too, because it is hard for me to default into I. And
Mhm.
yeah, maybe I've been socialized not to.
Yeah. I've had a lot of practice over these last 25, 30 years. So I think I've gotten pretty good at it. But
Yeah.
well, Sophia, I love the article. I want to tell everybody, go on our website, the On Purpose Woman magazine website. It's in the text of this video. Check out Sophia's article. Check out the other amazing articles there. Check out our advertisers and everything else that we have going on. And Sophia, tell everybody how they can get more information about you, and if you have anything coming up you'd like them to check out.
Yeah, so my site, sofiaren.com, is where you can find all of my blog posts and information about my programs. I do one-on-one writing coaching, writing groups twice a year. And I also have a free writing challenge starting tomorrow, actually. So if anyone would like to write every day for 7 days, then you can check that out.
That
And
sounds
so, yeah,
great.
yeah.
SophiaWren.com, and that is also in the text. So thank you for being here with us. Thank you for being like the guinea pig for this new thing we're doing. I want to tell you, if you're watching this, look for more of these. I've got 4 scheduled right now. We're trying to get everybody in before the next issue comes out. But I also want to invite you to check us out. Check out the On Purpose Woman Global Community, which is also the same website. The magazine is there. If you're interested in writing for us, or advertising with us, or being our cover artist, or having any other kind of role in the On Purpose Woman global community, whose purpose is to help women get seen and heard in greater ways, then just either put something in the chat, or you can reach out to me at GinnyRobertsonOPW.com. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Well, my mouse isn't working, so it's going to take me a minute. Bye.